But if we compare ourselves to where we think we should be, we're always going to come up short. We're always going to be behind the ball. It's going to be hard to inspire yourself, I promise you. Because if I look at where I want to go, I haven't accomplished anything. As a matter of fact, compared to the person where I need to be, I'm lazy as hell. That would make me feel this small. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. Please check in as you're coming on board. I want to make sure that I know who's listening today. And hopefully you'll get a lot of, insights of what needs to occur today, what needs to occur tomorrow to keep you on track. So I'm fresh off the plane, just got back from Miami yesterday. And I have to tell you something. I had a blast. I had a blast with my family. I went there to go to a real estate conference. And since we were heading out there, I just talked to Carla and I said, hey, let's make this a family trip. Let's make this a family trip and let's all go out there as, I'm going out there to learn more skill sets and maybe a different mindset, reinforce the mindset that I have. At the same time, we can make this a family trip. And I'm going to tell you, it was probably one of the best trips we've taken in a long time. And, just being able to sit back and watching my family just enjoy themselves. And then there was one particular moment that I even posted up on Facebook where my girls and Carla are out, having fun on the beach. And I simply stated, I imagined my life this way. I imagined my life exactly this way. And I found so much satisfaction in that I've been able to create a life where my daughters are smiling and laughing and just happy, where I'm able to sit back and think about just life in general, where I'm financially stable, connected, I'm healthy, and I'm excited about the future, and I'm happy. And as I'm looking at all aspects of my life, it comes down to one word. It's happy. Like, this is something that was not possible for me for a very long time. Coming from a situation where my life could have been completely different from what it is today, I'm learning to really appreciate where I'm at. And it goes to all of us. Sometimes we don't feel like we're on the right track because we're focused on all the things that we need to get to, that we don't realize that many times we have a sense of growth already. We've established a path of growth. And obviously, we're not where we want to be. My finances are good, but are they where they want to be? No. My marriage is good. My parenting skills are good, but I can always improve. But taking a step back and just realizing, man, I'm like happy right now. And that's what I want to talk about today is how do you know if you're on the right track on growth? Because I think sometimes we're just, constantly comparing ourselves to where we think we should be, that we don't realize that we're on the right path. And a part of me went to Miami to validate if I was on the right track, right, with going to this real estate conference. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm so glad that I did, because it confirmed a lot of things for me. We're doing the right things here at A's & Associates. I think a lot of brokerages are missing out the leadership aspect of it and the presence of realizing that it's all up to you. It's all up to me to determine where our future will lie. And, I'm seeing different brokerages and how they manage and what they're doing. And if I just simply take a step back, like, I'm on the right track. All I need to realize is I got to allow time to take its course. And you're taking all the right actions. If you're just getting started in the business or been in the game 5-10 years, as long as you're able to see that you're growing from who you used to be, that means you're on the right track. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about 5 things today. 5 things to determine and to ask yourself, am I on the right track? And number 1 is probably the most obvious of them all. How do you know if you're on track? Well, do you have targets set? Do you even have a track? And if we don't have something to compare where we want to go, we will always feel lost. If we don't have a clear and vivid picture of what we want to create in our lives, we will always feel like we're not on track. And those are the things that we're committed to here at A's & Associates, and that's why we have our quarterly meetings, like clockwork. so that you can continue to remind yourself that I have a track, that I have a target that I'm seeking to achieve. And when you achieve it, that creates a sense of accomplishment. And that, in turn, is growth and expansion. And that's why it's important that we continue to reinforce that on a consistent basis. Every 90 days, are you closer to what you want, or are you farther away? And, we discussed this before about having a vivid picture of what it is that you want to create. I had that image embedded in my mind of my family being happy and me being connected. That picture was so vivid in my mind 6 years ago, as my life looked completely different from what it was. My connection wasn't there with my daughters. Carla and I were headed for a divorce. But at the moment I stopped, what do I really want? As opposed to focusing on what I don't have. I don't have Carla's support. I don't have the love that I need from her. And blaming everyone else, especially my own spouse and my business. I changed all that. My focus stopped from focusing on what I don't have and what I wish I had to what do I want? And understand that any great thing is going to take time. But that was embedded in my mind. I imagine my daughters just so happy and so proud of their dad. Creating a lifestyle where I'm not watching every nickel and dime. Where I look at my wife and she returns that look of appreciation and respect, as opposed to resentment and hatred. It got there. But I had to have a vivid picture. And the only way you can have those vivid pictures is to determine and ask yourself, what do I want? I've told this story before where I remember at my last real estate brokerage, I was walking to go get lunch. And there was probably two girls, probably Abigail's age now. They're probably about 13, 14 years old. And I remember I was walking towards them, right? We were walking towards each other, and I was overhearing their conversation. And I hear one of the girls specifically say, "My dad's my best friend. I love hanging out with him." Like telling her friend these exact words. "I love spending time with my dad. He's funny." Like that was the first time I realized how short I was coming up as a father. That was the first time that the reality just smacked me in the face. I couldn't picture Abigail saying the same things at that moment. I couldn't, because I was the tyrant. I was the enforcer. I was the traditional parent. No connection. Do as I say, not as I do. That was the first time my reality was shaken up as a parent. And then I said something to myself. I said, I want Abigail to say the same things. I want her to be proud of me. I want her to understand that my role as a parent, as a leader, that she can see that. I got a video this week. I had a birthday this past Friday. And I got a video from her. Everything that I wished for, everything that I hoped for, everything that I imagined myself, those are better words. Everything that I realized that's what I want in my life is exactly what she put into this video. I became the dad that I should have been all along. Just like I've become the husband that I should have been all along, and the businessman. But it doesn't mean I've arrived. It just means I had a vivid picture of what I wanted. Realizing that it doesn't happen overnight. That conversation happened about 4 or 5 years ago. Even longer. I can honestly say to this day that I've created exactly what I recall from that conversation walking past those 13 or 14-year-old girls. Such a meaningless conversation if we're not aware. But that was a game changer for me. I wasn't the dad that I thought or could be. So number one, again, being clear about what it is that you want and have a clear and vivid picture. And we talk about power, purpose, and profits on a consistent basis. What is it that you want your body to look like, your health? How do you want to feel from the inside out? What does your relationships look like? What does your marriage look like? How's your relationship with your kids? Like, we're constantly painting these pictures. So I want you to start imagining what your finances look like. What will you be driving? Where will you be living? How will you be talked to, responded to? How will you market? How will people see you? How will you see yourself? Be very clear about what it is that you want. Number two, how do you know you're on the right track? Number two is comparison. You're like, wait a minute. How can comparison be a determining factor in realizing if I'm on the right track or not? Now, I'm not saying compare yourself to others. I think that can be counterproductive if we're using it as a measurement of our own success, as opposed to maybe inspiration. But simply comparing yourself and asking yourself the right questions and comparing yourself who you are today to who you were 6 months ago, 1 year ago, and 5 years ago. If you can see that there is a difference, that you're in a better place today, that means you're on the right track. The results may not be as fruitful as you want, but it does mean that you're on the right track. Asking yourself simple questions. Are you financially better right now than you were a year ago or 5 years ago? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then okay, you're on the right track. If it's not right now, you got to look at what's causing that. Maybe you're just getting started in the business. So of course, you're not going to see the finances better at this point. Are you a better marketer and salesperson today? Just think back. 6 months ago, are you better today? Are you more skilled today? Do you communicate more effectively today? Then I would say you're on the right track. Are you healthier than you were? Are your choices better when it comes to consuming the right foods and exercising your body? Maybe you weren't doing nothing before and now you're doing it twice a week or 3 times a week. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to confirm to you, you're on the right track. Can you get better? Absolutely. I'm not saying that you have it figured out. I'm not saying that I always have it figured out. But what this says is that, are you more consistent than what you were before? Then you might be on the right track. And you do this for every aspect of your life, as a parent, as a husband or wife. Are your relationships more? Are they better? Are they more connected? And it's a simple yes or no. We all know if we're in a better place today or not. But if we compare ourselves to where we think we should be, we're always going to come up short. We're always going to be behind the ball. It's going to be hard to inspire yourself, I promise you. Because if I look at where I want to go, I haven't accomplished anything. As a matter of fact, compared to the person where I need to be, I'm lazy as hell. That would make me feel this small. So I can only look to the future as a guideline of where I want to go, but I cannot compare myself to that person or anyone else that I think is at that level. That is counterproductive. I will feel this small. I will not be able to make the moves that I need to become that person. But if I just pause and say, okay, where was I 6 months ago? I'm a better person today. I'm a better marketer today. I'm a better business person today. I'm a better husband today. because I've put in the small deposits. So the comparison game is never of others or where you think you need to be. It's always of who you were and how far you've come. That will add fuel to you. So just ask yourself those basic questions. And I'm looking at our list. Carmela, I'm going to tell you, you're a better business person today. So soak it up. And not focus on where you think it should always be. Rudy, your relationship, your health, I would say you're in a better place than you were 6 months ago. You're taking the right steps. Now, are you where you need to be? No, not yet. But all we're talking about today is, are you on the right track? Let that be the fuel. Number three, are you on the right track? Well, I'm going to tell you something. We've talked about setting the targets. We talked about the comparison of who you were to who you are. And number three, you're focused on the small wins, which means that you're excited about learning. And at the same time, you're teaching the growth to others. You're on the right track when you simply commit to winning on a small level, on a small scale, making more right decisions than you do wrong ones. You understand that the small wins over life will change your experience on how you actually live life. So we can't determine, or we can't determine if we're on the right track if we're unwilling to do the small things every single day. And I think we all have targets and things that we can check off on a consistent basis. And understand that every decision comes to a crossroad. Will this get me closer to what I want, or will this get me further away? So understanding the game, that it's all about the small wins. Are you winning the day? If you win most of the days every week, then you're on the right track. Understand that if you work out 4 days out of the 7 days, you're on the right track. If you eat more healthy meals throughout the day than you do bad ones, then you're on the right track. If you market versus don't market, then you're on the right track. Those are all small wins. Understand that each day, as long as you do more of the right things versus the wrong things, over time, that is where growth will happen. So that's a challenge to you all. You're trying to lose weight? Okay, what can I do today to win the day? Making more right decisions versus the wrong ones over time will create the results that you want. Spending a little bit more time with my daughters every single day. Being engaged just a little every day has created the results that I have today with my daughters. I love them and they love me. They're my inspiration. So again, you're focused on the small wins. Number 4, I think this is a big one. You handle obstacles and conflict with intention. You don't make things worse. I think that is the biggest growth determiner, or a determining factor for me than anything else, is how I handle conflict, how I handle obstacles, how I handle failure. Because I know that after each and every obstacle, problem, or failure, I can make things worse. I stop making things worse. I'm able to bounce back. I don't stay in that pit. I don't stay in that mindset for long. What used to bring me to my knees for weeks and months at a time, I can handle like a boss right now with intention, and understand that this is an obstacle. This is a problem for me to solve. I need to rise up to the issue and quit cowering to the problem. I don't cower. I rise up. Does it still bring me to my knees? Sometimes, yeah. But I get right back up. I don't let it fester. I don't sit back and ask, why is this happening to me? Like an entitlement. This should never happen to me anymore. We're all human. We're all going to get knocked on our ass. How long are you going to remain there? That is the biggest determining factor for me of growth. Because the longer I stay in this pit, in this dark place, the less time I have to actually grow. But if I'm able to contract that, to compress the time I'm actually there, guess what I'm doing after that? I'm growing. So after every deal that falls through, after every argument you have at home, after you eat a meal you shouldn't have eaten, what do you do afterwards? Do you say, forget it, oh well, and make things worse? After eating that meal that you probably shouldn't eat it, you go and have a second one? Have an ice cream sundae afterwards? Say, nah, what's the point? After an argument, do you walk out of the house and say things you probably shouldn't have said by making things worse? When a deal falls through, do you stop marketing? Like, these are all indicators on how you handle conflict. Are you handling it with intention? So the next time you get an obstacle or a problem, I need you to step away from yourself and determine, are you having a tantrum? An adult tantrum? Are you acting like a teenager? Are you having a little fit? And then go back in with intention and fix it. Don't make things worse. So if you catch yourself in this place and you're not making it worse and you're getting back up, then consider you're on the right track. Number 5. I think this is an important one. Number 5. Others notice the growth in you. It's no longer you telling them things are going to change. Others, like the ones that are the hardest to convince, usually our spouses, right? Or the people we're in relationships with. Those are the hardest people to convince that we've changed or that we've grown as individuals. Carla was a skeptic. Why? Because I let her down so many times. I would tell her things would be different, and they would last for about a month, and then I would go back to my old patterns. So once you're able to see get that feedback, you can get the feedback from the way they look at you, the way they respond to you, the way they support you, if you're on the right track. Don't blame it on them if they're skeptical. Those were your actions. Because it's hard for someone to be skeptical when you deliver. I'm going to repeat that. It's hard for others to be skeptical when you deliver. So if you got skepticism from your family, well, I'm going to have you consider that you haven't delivered the way you should have. But don't blame it on them. Don't be like I was. You don't support me. You don't love me. Well, I failed to deliver. So you can see it in your kids' eyes, in your client's eyes, in your spouse's eyes, and their actions. If you're delivering or not. So number 5, others notice the growth in you. So these are the things that I've determined. And maybe you have your own list. How to determine if you're on the right track or not. And when I look at all of this, I'm like, man, I'm not only am I on the right track, I'm like growing exponentially. I feel good. And you got to feel good to create good things. So I'd like to get some feedback from everyone. What's your biggest takeaway from this conversation? I discussed about the 5 things to determine if you're on the right track. And the first one is, do you have targets? Are you getting closer to your target? Second one was comparison, not to others, but to yourself. Third is you're focused on the small wins. And you're excited about learning and also teaching. 4, you handle obstacles, conflict with intention. You don't make things worse. And number 5, others notice growth in you. And that's hard sometimes, right? That's hard to convince someone that you love that you've changed. The only way they'll determine that is through actions over time. Actions over time. Not just because you had a lucky or a feel-good streak of 1 month of showing up powerfully, all of a sudden their whole perception of you has changed. No, it takes time. But let's see here. Rudy, I definitely see the growth. I know I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago in all areas of my life. But I also understand that this isn't where it ends. That the results I can see now are directly from the work I've been doing for months. I must continue to build and never get the sense of I've made it, because the game is truly never over. Man, those are powerful words. And if we can all live by that, and if we can all have appreciation for ourselves, like who we were just 6 months ago, a year ago. Some of you have made some massive moves, some massive decisions that is changing the trajectory, but right now you're just in a pain point. Right now it's not all glorious, but it will be. If you continue to see that vision, like I had that vision of what I wanted my relationship with my daughters to be. It was so validating for me, guys. Like I just sat there with a deep sense of appreciation. I'm like, I can't believe I created this. And I got a flashback from that moment when I heard those 2 14-year-old girls talking about their dad. And how I wasn't that guy back then, but I am now. I wasn't that businessman back then, but I am now. And I wasn't that husband back then, but I am now. We'll all get inspired when we just compare who we were to who we are. Gabriel, can you please post the list? I think it's a great plan to put in action. I will. We'll have complete notes. We'll have a complete recap of this, and I'll make sure to post it for you guys, okay? And each one of our Mindset Masteries, I go ahead and repurpose them and put them on badassagents.com. And you can get a complete breakdown for you. These are all good. I reflect on it constantly. I listen to it as I'm getting ready. Do the same. Sharon, no guts, no glory. Absolutely. We've all had our fair share of disappointments though, right, Sharon? But it's like, okay, I'm not going to make things worse. I'm not going to compare myself to others. I'm going to compare myself to who I was. That's going to be the fuel I need to go kill it. Teresa, I agree. I have definitely changed in the past months. I'm now becoming a marketer. I have to continue to do the small wins each day, small wins that become the systems and the success of my life, of my day. That's it. I think you've become a great marketer. And you've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone each and every day. And while doing that, you've become a master at it. Your communication skills are on point. People are taking notice. Some people are inspired by it, and some are trying to throw you off your game as well. Why you're posting too much, Teresa? All you're doing is calling to their insecurities. But you continue to move. You continue to go. And as we start looking at other aspects of your life, I promise you, you'll see growth in other aspects as well. Because you're focused on everything every day. Jason, it's natural to get back in your bad or lazy patterns. So it's very important to catch those patterns in the early stages before you damage your progress. Your change won't mean anything without consistency. That's it. Understand that we all have the lowest level of habit. When something happens, we revert back to our lowest form of habit. But it's not, don't beat yourself up for making the mistakes you did before. It's like, just don't make it worse. Change it. Go back to your consistency. And realize that deal that fell through is not the end of the world. It's a small blip in a grand scheme of your life. So why are you treating it like this is the worst thing in the world? Go out and get more. Every player, and we were talking, there was a keynote speaker that came in. And he says everything that we practice every single day. Learn to overcome. Be excited about your day. Understand that failures are part of the growth process. Carmela, if you are in the office on a holiday, you're on the right track. Boom. Simple. If you can handle your business while you're on vacation, you're on the right track. If you can continue to grow while spending time at home, you're on the right track. Very simple to the point. I love it. Gabe, I actually took my oldest daughter to the Cardinals game, and it was great because we had to go do a final walkthrough before we got to go have fun. We had a great time together. Time well spent as we both share a passion for football. Absolutely. And she's seen dad in her power. She's seen a correlation as well that dad has to work, mom has to work. But there are benefits to this. If we're guilted by our kids of not being able to perform at a high level in our business because they're not seeing the correlation. They're not. Our kids understand that we had the time in Miami and the way we did because of the actions we have to put and set forth every single day here at the office. So it's really important that if your kids are not understanding you or you're feeling guilty about that, they need to come into your world. You got to bring them into your world. Abigail fully understands that. When she was 2-3 years old, she used to be in the back just like going around everywhere with me, showing houses, listing appointments. She understands. Sharon, yes, I had a great start and totally slid back downhill. It's painful, but I'm climbing back out. Consistency always seems like a mystical holy grail to me. And once you learn to dominate that, Sharon, once you learn to dominate that, the small wins every day, and just simply going through this question-based guideline that I set forth, like you'll put yourself in that place more often than not. And once you learn how to stay more consistent, game over. Game over in all you do. But it's a learning process for all of us. But you're getting better. You're more consistent today than you were 6 months ago. I promise you. I promise you, or a year ago. You've made big moves. So guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. And again, we'll have all the show notes, the summary of this, and the breakdown of the 5 reasons to determine if you're on track. Guys, I want to thank you again, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye now.